President William Ruto's handlers decided to hijack the joint SADC and DRC peace process meeting summit that was being held in Kenya to run a political propaganda of a handshake between former President Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. And in this podcast, we are going to show you the motive behind this hijacking and really why the president would actually want the narrative or the perception of a working relationship with the former president. Before we get that, happy new month of August. This is our month of August. I did promise you that, of course, we're going to give you a more detailed analysis this month. Let me take this time first again to say thank you. In that month of July, we had two projects. We built a house in Embu the first week of July. And of course, we completed the house. And then we were also helping baby Willis here. My team was in Eldoret. They were able, of course, to help through. And the boy is supposed now to undergo the operation. And this is the soundbite of the mother.
Hi guys, so tuko Eldoret, tulikuja kuona mama Willis na huyu ndio Willis. Willis unaona tumbo yake imefura kidogo.
Kwa majina naitwa Abigail Uchia. Nashukuru watu wa Gold Foundation na wenye walinichangia. Nimekuja kwa hospitali ya Royal Referral Hospital. Nimekaa hapo for 2 weeks now. And I thank all who have contributed for me. May God bless you all. Nimeanzisha kama nyanya. Private part yake ilifura. Alafu kidogo tulipelekwa Homa Bay for surgery. Kitu ilipatikana kando ya tumbo left hand. Sasa tuliambiwa mwende tu kwa clinic, alafu tuone daktari ya mtoto, alafu tuelezee vile hiyo watamfanyia surgery kama kufika tarehe 2 mwezi wa 3 tulienda wakatuambia tufanye matezi zingine na tumefanya hizo matezi zilikuwa 17,800. Alafu walituambia sasa watamfanyia operation. Wakamfanyia operation. Walifanyia upasuaji lakini kuna kilikuwa hadi wa leo nasikia uchungu kwa tumbo. Sisi tulienda huko Homa Bay Referral wakatuleta hapa. Tulikuja hapa sasa waliniweka kwa mashine, walipima wakajua ni nini kinaendelea. Sasa from now wamempangia kumfanyia chemo for 6 weeks.
So guys, Willis atakwenda kwa chemo for 6 weeks, after which the doctors will now determine whether he will be going for surgery because they need to remove the mass that is on his clit. I think I'm getting it right. So guys, yes, we want to say thank you for those who came through waka support baby Willis and the mother. We were able to help them where we could. Your contribution has gone way a long way in helping them in terms of medical bills and also the chemo and all the things that they need for the operation. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to demonstrate to you and still continue to say thank you very much for supporting the two projects in the month of July. As I always say, God will guide us next. And I am heading to Nakuru. That's where God has said. So we are going to Nakuru sometime this month. Ladies and gentlemen, what happened in State House? There was a meeting being held in State House of a joint SADC. SADC is the Organization of South African Countries and the East African countries that is mediating the peace process in DR Congo. And this meeting was convened by William Ruto, who is the chair of the Summit of East African Presidents, and his counterpart from Zimbabwe, Mnangagwa, who is the chair of SADC in State House. And Uhuru Kenyatta, who is amongst the peace facilitators of this DRC peace process, had to attend the meeting. And I want you to look at the protocol at State House on how the president broke the protocol, of actually designed the protocol to ensure that he gets the photo optics with former President Uhuru Kenyatta. The leader who was designed assigned the responsibility of receiving the dignitaries was Prime Cabinet Secretary, who is the Foreign Affairs CS Musalia Mudavadi. And in this video, you can see Musalia Mudavadi receiving the dignitaries in State House. It is just in the same this place. And amongst those who are present, who are supposed to be there, is Olusegun Obasanjo, the former Nigerian president. However, was not present in that meeting. But Galema Mutanlade, the former South African president, was there, received by Mudavadi. Catherine Samba Panza, former president of Central African Republic, and Sal Wak Hade. So this meeting, it is Mudavadi who had assigned the responsibility. However, even the others are former presidents, but when Uhuru Kenyatta arrived, William Ruto himself went to receive the former president. And I think I agree with this move here, because what was happening here is probably he just realized that the former president of the Republic of Kenya, it would not be a good picture him to be received by a cabinet secretary while the president was there. So it was a protocol that he designed. It was a protocol setup that the president himself designed and received Uhuru Kenyatta. The jovial Uhuru. There is something with Uhuru. Uhuru is very calm and looks very, collected and professional. I think the word here is he looks really presidential. That's one thing you cannot take away from former President Uhuru Kenyatta. And it is from this that photo, they took the photo, and this photo was circulated. This is the photo that has been circulated to tell the masses that, you know what, Uhuru Kenyatta has had a handshake with President Ruto. And I know that this meeting, it could still be held somewhere in KCC or in some hotel or something, but they designed it to happen in State House because that will be an opportunity for President to get a photo with the former president. So I know that in Facebook, Twitter pages, it has been shared by state bloggers, people who, and they will not give you the full context of this photo. They will just use this photo to tell you that, look here, these people have met and these people are now together and this and that. They are running that narrative, even though the communication team around the former President Uhuru Kenyatta have really made it clear on president's presence in State House. That has been the issue. This coming a day after Raila Odinga was also in State House, I can tell you, there is a way the president's team are really manufacturing all manner of propaganda. Now, and if you understand, apart from Uhuru Kenyatta, William Ruto also received personally Mnangagwa, the president of Zimbabwe. It is those two leaders that William Ruto personally received, Mnangagwa and Uhuru Kenyatta. So the information that state bloggers are not telling you is that former President Uhuru Kenyatta was in State House in his capacity as the peace facilitator in the East African community, and not just going to have a handshake with William Ruto. Because I've looked at social media, that is the whole narrative going on. And in fact, at this point, I want us to listen to a speech from Jamatia. There's a leader who was talking somewhere in Nakuru, and she's saying that, Ruto and Raila and Uhuru are now together and Ruto would be elected unopposed. In fact, alikuwa sama akisema Ruto ako ndani, Uhuru ako ndani, and Raila ako ndani, sasa nani atapinga rais? You can see the level of desperation that they were just hijacking that small moment to build a political capital from Uhuru Kenyatta.
Ingine hata watu ya Baringo wanajua. Ukiangalia wale watu wanaomba kura na wanasema wanataka kutoa William Ruto. Hao wenyewe tu. Kuna mtu anaweza toa yeye? Kuna mtu anaweza toa yeye? Ati nani? Kuna mmoja anaweza toa ati Matiang'i. Huyu mtu hajawahi hata omba kura ya kansela. Hata hajawahi omba, wacha kupigiwa kura, kuomba tu. Tunamwambia sisi ni William Ruto ambaye amekuwa kiongozi zaidi ya hiyo wakati yote. Ingine, Your Excellency, ukiangalia siasa ya saa hii, tunajua William Ruto anapitia changamoto sana kwa sababu ya kampeni na kadhalika. Wanafikiri ni rahisi kumpeleka yeye mbio, lakini nataka kuambia itakuwa ngumu kutoa William Ruto kwa hiyo kiti. Ukiangalia sana 2027 William Ruto anaweza enda unopposed. Kwani kuna shida? Si tumeona Uhuru wako ndani leo na Raila ako ndani. Sasa nani ndio shida? Na sisi wengine wote? Sisi wengine wote? Sisi wote tuingie wa Ruto? Otherwise, Your Excellency, we love you. Tunakupenda sana. Karibu nyumbani. Hapa ni wewe ni Kipchumba, uitwe Kipruto, uitwe Arab Kindiki.
Kipi yote.
Kipi yote.
Wapi makofi ya Florence Jamatia jameni? Ni ngapi?
Haya, hapa ni 100,000.
100,000.
Sometimes it's very ironical. It's very ironical that the man who the state is struggling to get legitimacy from, the man they are struggling to win some political capital from, is a man themselves they demeaned, they really disparaged his power and his influence. And so at this moment, tables turn. And when President William Ruto finds a slightest opportunity to share platform to share table with former President Uhuru Kenyatta, is given that reception. I looked at even the arrangement, the sitting arrangement at the presidential VIP dais, and you could, if you look at this picture, you can see the president was there and was genuinely in that meeting. So just to understand the context of this, I would want us to get a soundbite from the African Union Commission chair, who was also present and made a speech there.
Devote time and energy to try and resolve crises on the continent. I can only praise their efforts and pay tribute to you all for this genuine engagement. Your Excellency's Eastern DRC has been a decades a theater of mayhem and suffering. Population in Eastern DRC has been submitted to endless displacement, killing and chronic insecurity for more than 3 decades. Over the past few months, there's a glimmer of hope shaping up, and giving all of us reasons to believe that this time around, peace could be reached among all stakeholders. The African Union Commission salutes the Washington Agreement, signed between Rwanda and DRC, and the Declaration of Principles signed between M23 and the government of DRC in Doha. However, the African Union underlines the centrality of its mediation role in all the crises of our continent. Now, it is paramount to capitalize on any breakthrough or progress that can bring peace and stability to our member countries. However, there is a need for better coordination and more coherence if we are to succeed in the implementation process of those agreements. Besides, the Commission urges all stakeholders to tackle the root causes of the problem in a holistic manner. Agreements can be meaningful and can be game changers if and only if they are implemented on the ground. It takes courage and wisdom to seek compromise when tough decisions are needed, and I'm convinced that our leaders in the region can make it happen. The African Union Commission and the Peace and Security Council and the African Union mediator are fully committed to accompany the process. I would like to seize this opportunity to express the African Union Commission appreciation for our leaders in this region for their tireless efforts for the sake of peace in Eastern DRC. I also welcome our former presidents, members of the Committee of Facilitators, whose wisdom and experience will be of great help during the next stages of the peace process in Eastern DRC.
That is it. So this had everything to do with the SADC meeting. But of course, I know very well that this meeting has come a day after Museveni was in the country. Museveni just left Kenya yesterday, of course on Thursday, after spending a day here. He came here, spent a night, then went back to Uganda. And so this meeting had a little bit of bearing. But I want to explain why state bloggers have narrowed on President Uhuru Kenyatta and are using Uhuru Kenyatta's name seeking legitimacy. Number one, it is in the interest of William Ruto that Uhuru Kenyatta's voice is amplified against Rigathi. Yes, Uhuru Kenyatta's voice is amplified against Rigathi. I think Rigathi has become a big challenge for those in power. I was just listening to, I think this is Oscar Sudi talking somewhere in Rift Valley. Look at what, just get a snippet of this. So you will see how the state is very, you know they've set Rigathi as the agenda. Why would they prefer Uhuru Kenyatta? They would prefer Uhuru Kenyatta because they know that Uhuru is not gonna engage in the high octane politics. But that I can tell you, don't expect Uhuru Kenyatta in 2027 to come and say telling you guys vote for who and who, endorsing who. In fact, I've been hearing people say he will fund this, will fund that. I think he's really kept his standard. And if it is about conduct of a former president, I'm so sure the kind of course, endurance that are gone and at the persecutions from the state players currently, Uhuru has been very calm. So they want him because number one, he won't be politicking. I think the second reason is that it would actually bring the voice of reason in Mount Kenya. And when it brings voice of reason, that means the MPs, these ones who are not pro-Gachagua, can find a way to coalesce around Uhuru Kenyatta. And it would be in their interest. If there are people who don't love Ruto, but they can't go to Gachagua, but they feel if Uhuru Kenyatta tells them, let's come together, probably they can listen to that. Now, Uhuru clearly, President Ruto understands that if Uhuru remains afloat in the if Uhuru remains a powerful figure in a political space, then the financial network and the muscle that opposition needs will really be dependable on how Uhuru Kenyatta decides to support. Now, Ruto perception of Uhuru Ruto Raila is a perception that have been endorsed by Ruto, have been endorsed by Raila and Uhuru Kenyatta, is a rigging perception. You can rig that election and the next morning you wake up and start asking people, are you guys sure that I could lose an election if I have so-and-so? So to my end, that is what is in it. And I think all this is geared towards achieving that. Thank you.